All right, we continue our Radical Nation series with an inside look at the most progressive president in American history and his failed promise to unite the nation. Joining us now, former senior advisor to President Trump's campaign, Jason Miller, and the host of the Gorka Reality Check right here on Newsmax, Sebastian Gorka. Gentlemen, welcome to you both. Jason, I want to start with you. In Chapter 2 of the book, I have a passage in that I want to read to you. I write, Democratic voters, they live, work, and raise their family, in the most part, according to traditional values. In every election, they go to the polls and vote for Democratic candidates who represent the exact opposite of their values. And they don't even realize it. Millions of people voted for Joe Biden and against their own interest. They were duped by the Biden-Harris campaign and the leftist media into voting for a radical agenda. Jason, you were on the forefront of that campaign in the 2020 election. I think that for many people, even on the right, people said, oh, Biden is this pragmatic, moderate guy. He's been in Washington for half a century. Trust me. And that's not what they got.
No, not at all. And to be honest with you, I'm not even sure if Joe Biden knows what he's doing at this point. He seems to be so disconnected and checked out from reality. That's why I see Glenn Youngkin poised to win in Virginia coming up next week. But going back to the primary season, keep in mind that Joe Biden had to effectively make the deal with the devil to go and win this primary challenge. And obviously, Jim Clyburn helped catapult him. But as we've seen, someone who was very much considered more of a centrist Democrat really became this woke warrior, and now his administration is effectively infested with all these woke warriors who are actually taking them right off the liberal cliff. And so I think it's a total disaster, but this is a systemic problem within the Democratic Party nowadays, that you can't win a primary without essentially making one of these long-term contracts or long-term promises. You remember what he signed with Bernie and company, which is going to lock you into being in crazy town for perpetuity. You know, Seb, I talk to folks a lot who voted for Biden. I call the last election style over substance. I'm sure Jason heard this over and over again. I know Lindsay did. I'm sure you did. Well, people were saying, I don't like Trump's tweets. I don't like the way he says this. And I would say it over and over again. A tweet's never hurt you. It's never made you better or worse, but policies do. And President Trump's policies move the country in the right direction. Do you think that a good chunk of Biden voters feel like they regret their vote now?
I'd ask those people living in California who are in those districts that are paying $7 for a gallon of gasoline if they'd prefer to have the mean tweets back. I'd like to ask the Democrats in border states who voted for Biden that are now facing the ravages of 2 million illegal aliens coming into this nation, the first calendar year of his presidency, whether they miss the mean tweets. So it goes on and on and on. But to your prior point, you can't put this man in a category of political taxonomy, of a radical or a moderate. He's a husk. He's a shell. He's the first zombie president of the United States. There's no there. Look at his town hall performance on CNN last week. This is a man who is just not compos mentis. He can't function. So what happens? The radicals use him as a meat puppet. He is a meat puppet for the AOCs, for the Bernie Sanders, for the people who are going to sell America down the river. Why? Because they hate America, Sean. It's what your book is all about.
They want to change America. Sean, in Chapter 4 of his book, he writes this. He says that Barack Obama called President Biden's agenda the most progressive platform of any major party nominee in history. Biden has cast himself in FDR's mold, and the mainstream media, they agree. Since his first day in office, he's been proving it. He's been transforming the America you and I love into a radical nation. We're seeing that happen before our eyes. Jason, it does seem like we get a little bit of pushback, but if you think about it, we're only 9 months into this. So how much further can this go? We have quite a few more years.
Well, this is a great point, because I think there are really two problems that are in front of Biden right now. Number one, he's actually running into a little bit of a roadblock on Capitol Hill, where we have Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema who are throwing up some challenges and saying you're not going to go spend as much as you'd like. And of course, then the progressive left is saying, well, wait a minute, you promised us all these additional trillions of these social welfare takeover problems. So I think Biden has a real challenge there. The other thing, too, is the mainstream media. I know this sounds a little bit crazy. They actually seem to be having a little bit bit of buyer's remorse. Even take a look at liberal Brett Stevens in the New York Times today, writing up about how Joe Biden, shocker, is wrong on every foreign policy decision, as if we didn't know that before 2020. So Biden does have some real problems coming at him, in addition to all the problems that he's created.
Yep.
You know, Seb, we see that these radical policies, they're really not getting a lot of traction. And the traction they are getting, things are falling apart. Biden's not dealing with one crisis. He's dealing with multiple at a time. Do you think at the end of the day, once we will have likely a Republican majority in 2022, that will just be the roadblock for him completely, or will he get more stuff out?
Oh, my gosh. That depends if the establishment GOP grows a spine. Look, there are 85 battleground states where Republicans are winning right now, battleground districts. But the mainstream GOP is still feckless and full of a lot of people who don't have a backbone. So we need more Jim Jordans, more Matt Gaetz, more of the Freedom Caucus type GOP members than we do the establishment. So, you know, when they're in opposition, they act like they're in opposition. And when they're in the majority, they still act like they're in the opposition. So they need to wake up and realize what happened in 2016. And we'll see what happens next week in Virginia, because that's going to be, if Glenn Youngkin can pull that off, then that's a shocker for the Democrats and also for the GOP.
Yeah, I think the next few months are crucial. This administration knows that the time is limited, and they are going to try to get everything jammed through in the next 12 months. They get it. They know what's at stake, and he's going to get as much done as quick as possible. Jason, Seb, thank you as always. Appreciate you both being here.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.